back here today with another video, and today I'm going to be doing another story time. I have some stuff written down here. There are some minor things that's happened as well. But for now, these are just the main three I have. I talked briefly about two of them in the live stream. I talked briefly over one. The other one I think I gave more of an explanation about. I hope y'all can hear me well. I'm trying to record this on my phone, so we'll see how this goes. I'm trying to avoid using my camera too much because quality is shit. But I'm probably going to start off with orientation. Now, this is before, like the day before my first day of college. So, orientation was a bit of a nightmare. There was some within, like, there was two of them within 1 to weeks, where you could do orientation, and they were in my town, and I'm like, oh, I could go to those. But I wasn't in my town for that entire week, so the fact that that happened, I'm just like, surely there must be another time between that last one and the one I had to go to. As you already know, nope. There was a wide gap, so I'm like, oh, surely they'll add another one. No, they just said, nada, no, we ain't doing that. And from there, let's see. I signed up for that. I went with a relative. I offered to pay for lunch. Keep this in mind. I offered to pay for lunch because they drove me up there, and they sat through the entire thing with me. I had to go with a group of people to go and hear more about it and all. And, that went all fine. I met someone, I talked to them on Discord a little bit, so I'm glad I got to meet a person. I doubt if they'll check out my channel, but hey, if you did from Discord, hello! I hope we could talk again. Pretty much from just the orientation, everything seemed to be going fine until I got my schedule. My schedule and where my classes would be was the problem. I didn't notice at the time. I'm like, okay, this looks fine and all. I didn't look at the campus. I should have looked at the campus. So about after all the student orientation was over and all, was going back to where the adults were. I say adults, where the parents were. Pretty much from there, everything started to go wrong. It was already kind of rough just for me to get up that day anyways and get ready and all. I was already mentally behind. But like the student orientation wasn't too bad, and then it went to having to look for the stuff for the class, like textbooks and all. Couldn't find much of any of them. I found like one textbook and the rest of them were either like ebooks or I had to buy something that was like, well, I didn't buy it. To be honest, I didn't buy it. I was going to, but I realized I didn't have enough money on my card because I needed to transfer some, and I didn't. So my relative bought that, and I'm glad that they did. And I'm glad that they stuck through that entire hell with me. When I had noticed about where the classes were, I'm just like, there's no way I'm gonna drive on an interstate to come all the way to there. I'm gonna say roughly like 2 hours at most. Because this can depend on like traffic and all, but it's like an hour and 30 from where I am. And I'm just like, there's no way. There's no way I can do this. There's no way I'm mentally prepared or emotionally prepared, because I know I'm not prepared, and there's no way I could be. And I'm just like, I'm gonna send an email because we couldn't find her anywhere. Couldn't find them anywhere and all that stuff. I am losing my voice in the process today, so if I'm clearing my throat, I'm very sorry. But couldn't find them anywhere. So I'm like, oh, surely I'll shoot a email to them. And luckily they were able to get that. And we got everything changed. I was so stressed. I was so stressed about this Because I'm just like, everyone's already signed up for the classes. That means spots are not available and all. And the advisor's like, I got you. We're going to change it and all. And I'm like, thank you. So, for like, and this was after I got home too, when we were finally able to go ahead and get everything straightened out. And, in that little section of trying to find out what to do, there was also trying to do like financial aid and all that stuff too. I was already breaking from that. So having realized all my classes and all, and then my account, my student account was like, oh no, we ain't gonna work for most of whatever you're doing. They still didn't fix that, to be honest. They just reset my password, and I'm just like, well, great, fun. Which I'm not mad. I'm not mad at them for that or anything, but it was just kind of aggravating to try to explain it, and they weren't getting what I'm trying to explain to them. So it could have been my fault just for not explaining it correctly, but I was already breaking down and all. This was all like, get this done now. Get this done. And I was just like, there's no way that I could. So, pretty much from all that shit from right there, the relative I went to just like, I'll buy lunch. I'm like, are you sure? I'll buy it. And they're just like, you've had a rough day. We're gonna go ahead and buy this lunch, and then we're just going home. And I'm like, I can agree, but I still want to buy lunch. But nope, they paid for the lunch. I'm like, okay. I saw some Pokemon cards. Now this dives into a whole separate story here. And they were the little tin can Pokemon cards. So you have like 2 booster packs in there, I think, and then you get like Pokemon coin and I think just that. I don't know. But pretty much, I'm hoping that notification go away, because I can see like the little time thing stuff right there between my hands, to make sure it's still recording, because my storage is also shit. Pretty much, I have bought 2 things of Pokemon cards. So from there, I had to go ahead, and I'm like, okay, I'll let my little sibling choose. I did. Guess what they chose? They chose the one I wanted, which had Kyogre on the front of it. And I'm like, oh, this seems like a good one. I really want it. And the other one, I'm like, oh, they will like it and all. And they didn't choose that. They chose the one I wanted, which it seems how that always turns out to be. So I was kind of upset about that. But, I mean, Pokemon cards. And they had some good pulls from it, believe it or not. And I'm just like, that's the one I wanted, though. But okay. To move on from that, I got everything finally situated. Then the next day was having to go to college. Oh, that was... I was running great on time. I was there like roughly an hour earlier than I should have been. And I'm like, oh, because I had trouble with trying to get my parking permit and all that shit, I can go ahead and get that. So I was going to go ahead and get that, get my student ID. I still had to do the student ID online, which was bullshit, because, I mean, I could not do anything about that. I finally got it in the end, which took forever. But the parking thing is all virtual, so I had to get that done, and I had to go, which I checked, I'm going to say roughly last week, somewhere between the last, like Wednesday or Thursday. I checked and they're like, you're good, you're fine. And, not just that. So after I got all that situated, I realized the time, and I either had a choice between driving or walking. All throughout the campus, it is one way. And they're just like, we pretty sure you don't want to walk because there's hornet nests and all. Or yellow jacket nests, whichever one it was, because I didn't fully pay attention. I'm like, they sting, no thank you. So I chose to drive. I had to drive, go to a different road, and I found 2 parking lots. I'm like, okay, I'll search these 2. No parking spots. The second one, I'm just like, okay, I'll double check this because it loops around. Nothing. So I had to go to a parking lot way down the road and park in one of the residential parking spots for the people who were staying in the dorms, because that was the only one available. And they say they weren't giving tickets like the first day, so I'm like, okay, that's fine, that's fine. until then, I could search out a spot to park and all of that stuff, and I did. Finally got a parking spot situated, so that's good. But my God, it's a nightmare. It is an absolute nightmare. But I had to walk as well. So here's the thing. I already missed half of my damn class. So I'm walking extra 5 to 7 minutes for that half of the class that's been missed. Make it all the way to the building. I had to go into the library to ask for assistance. I am breaking down the entire time because I'm just like, I don't know anything. I don't know anything about college, nothing. So, I mean, I don't know what to expect and all. And I'm just like, I'm going to be screwed. And sadly, it's also because of the stuff that's been established by movies and TV shows and stuff like that that deal with college. So, but from there, luckily I wasn't yelled at or anything. I was able to go to the class. I did. Turns out the professor was having technical difficulties, so they can kind of relate to my day in general, and I told them all about it, and they're just like, you've had a rough one. And I'm like, I did, but hearing your story makes me feel at least a little better because I wasn't alone. And they're just like, it's okay, you'll be fine. I'm like, by the way, and here's another section. It goes into Starbucks. They had a Starbucks in the library. I'm like, hey, is there a Starbucks there? And they're just like, yeah. So I went, I got me a damn Starbucks. I'm like, coffee is just a blessing at this point. So I'm just like, I got the nectar of the gods. I've had a shit day. This ought to help me through. And I had like a whole hour between after that class and my next one, between those two. And I'm like, what do I even do? So I sat down, I met 2 people, just kept talking on. I'm like, well, I don't really know where to go. So I'm like, I'll give myself 10 minutes. So, and it looked nearby. So I asked them, they're like, oh, it's just across the road. I'm like, okay, that's good. So I made it there. It was good. And I had to do the same thing with the student parking just so I can go ahead and scout out a whole different area for trying to find out where to park. And finally, I got a parking spot secured, though. Like I said, I'm glad I did. And then, like I said, there's minor things that's also happened and all, but I get to play more Pokemon Go, which is a benefit of this. So I'm glad because it means I'll get some Pokecoins. I need them desperately. But then there was like last week. You should know how that was. I had 2 classes again. This was Wednesday. My second class, I'm like, okay, we have everything done. We had an assignment. And the professor, he's just like, they're just like, I know every now and then I slip up with things, but just the entire time was just setting up and all that stuff. But they're just like, go ahead and pull out your assignments. If people did the assignments, they didn't print them out. If there are people who didn't do the assignments, they don't have any results to, like, nothing to turn in. So what was funny is the fact that the professor looked at the entire class, and I was still setting up to get notes so I could write and all that stuff. Well, I looked as well. No one pulled out a single thing. No, not one paper, nothing. And the professor's like, oh, so no one did the assignment. And just said like a short story of like, nowhere in so-and-so years did this ever happen. And I'm like, oh, well, where are the first ones then? But the professor's like, okay, no one did the assignment, bye-bye. Just walks out the class. I'm sitting there like still preparing for the class, and then the other half of my brain's like, what's going on here? Everyone else was also confused and all. There was only 2 people that saw that it was normal, and I'm like, okay then. So everyone else is just like, is the professor joking? But the last words he did say, like, I know I shouldn't really use the genders and all that on here, but it makes it look a little less confusing. The professor said that, see us Monday, and, be in his office. Like, and then now I have a group chat texting me. But, just walked out. No one, like, knew what to do. So, about everyone stayed after class to, make a group chat and all that stuff. So now we got that situated. And they had just texted me by the time I just said something about that. But it was chaos. It was chaos because no one was expecting that or knew what to do. So that was fun. No one knew what to do about it. So that's just roughly the main events from my few days there. But there are some minor stories which I'll have to sit here and think about to try to figure out where they are and all. So if you want some minor stories, I can sit there and talk about them. They won't be as like major or maybe as interesting, but they're minor. They can be somewhat of interest. I have one that's on my mind, but I'm not going to say it right now. So, pretty much that's just one I remembered. So I wrote it down. But, pretty much, I will sit here and tell some more. So this is my experience throughout college. It seems, and that's just so far, those 3 stories. And I'm just like, I'm still overwhelmed and all. I have another assignment I gotta do because apparently in the group chat there is another one and I didn't look at the dates for that. So I gotta do that. Anyways, I hope you all had an amazing day, and you might see some bizarre shit on here about the college stuff. I have no idea what I'm gonna be expecting, so thus far, so I don't know. Anyways, if y'all have questions or anything, feel free to ask them. I can do another Q&A or something. So thank y'all so much for staying here and watching as far as you did, if you did, and hopefully talk to y'all later. Bye!